Hello everybody, Carl and Erynn here on the Patreon site, and we've got a great tune, Honeysuckle, in the key of C. Charlie Poole played it on the banjo with a three-finger style. Posey, Rorrer on the fiddle, and Erynn's going to do some fiddling for us. But if you've never fingerpicked before, I think you'll find that it might be a nice thing to try. And this is a good tune, and I'll give you some basic patterns, and we'll try to get a little more of the intricacy going as well. But it sounds good even without the fiddle, so I think you'll enjoy the therapeutic sound of a fingerpick banjo, and this will be a lot of fun. So we'll get Erynn to fiddle it, and I'll back it up a little bit, and then we'll break down some of the things to try there. Thank you, Erynn. A lot of fun to back that up there. So we'll just have to imagine the fiddle now. I'll scoot in. We'll just kind of get some basic patterns going and see how it is to navigate our way through Honeysuckle. I think you'll have a good time with this. So let's just check our tuning first, because double C. Like I say, we've only got one C this time, single C, and this is an old tuning. I think you'll find goes way back in a lot of banjo method books in the early 1900s and things, maybe a more orchestral style or something there they'd play with that. Even the four-string banjos, might be a tenor banjo style or something too. But so our C chord looks like this. So you have the 5th fret matches up, on the first string with the open 5th, right? And then you have the 3rd fret on the 2nd string. On a double C tuning, you'd have the 2nd fret. So it's just like a G tuning starting out there. But then you do have that low C. So you have to get the 7th fret. So it's 5, 3, 4, and 7 if you're checking those tuning checkpoints. So one thing, let's start out just getting a nice C chord. It's just going to be the 1st fret, 2nd string, 1st finger, and I'm using my 3rd finger on the 1st string, 2nd fret. And you have a nice thing. So one pattern, let's just start out with our thumb. It's going to be a crucial element here. You're going to let's just pick that low bass and the 3rd string. Just kind of get used to, one thing's going to be just doing an alternate thumb. So start with that for a second. A nice little tick-tock. And then what we'll do with our first 2 fingers, let's just go ahead and try to do a grab of the first 2 strings and pluck them both together simultaneously. So we'll start with that as our basic pattern. Okay. So that picking the fingers together, one for another variant to start out with, which is pretty easy, is going to do, instead of playing the fingers together, we'll do a little split them apart. Be like this. I'll do the low bass and the pluck, and then the 3rd string I'll do a roll. So I'm going, and you could even just leave it there. So let's just try that. Low bass, 2 strings together, and then the 3rd string, and then you're just going to split them apart. Let's just do that first. So there's our C chord. And let's try to scoot up. If we copy, remember, if you have open strings and you want to copy a same chord, you're going to have to bar that open string. You go down here, we're going to do a bar. Hopefully if you've done a bar before. You bar 4 strings on the 5th fret, and I'm using my little finger and 2nd finger to get that, copy that same pattern we have. And that's going to be your F chord. And if I did that split apart, try this. Let's try to do the pluck a couple times and then split it apart one time. It'll sound like this. Up here to F. So you're going to be able to start, what happens, you'll get several little patterns. Your right hand can start mixing and matching. It's kind of like you get your puzzle laid out there and you got all these pieces and they all kind of work. And you make your own new puzzle out of that, you know, out of your backup masterpiece. Let's go ahead and look at, if you scoot it on down to the 7th fret, you'd have the G chord in that same shape. Bar 7, little finger on 9, and that second finger is getting 8. And some people do it with these 3 fingers too. You can do it that way too, but I kind of just feel more comfortable doing it with my little finger and second finger. So that's a nice pattern for the song. What we'll add, just taking that pattern, we'll get a little fancier pattern going in a minute, but we're going to walk up from C to F, and to do that, it's going to be the bass, and you have the 2nd fret on the low string, 4, and just let that first finger just kind of slide down and get the bar for F. So it'll be like the start of the song is going to be the C chord, alternate the bass, and you're going to walk to F. You can use your second finger too, and back to C. So let's just try that. That's the first time around the first part. So we start out, and if you're leading it off, of course the guitar player, Harvey, you know, does a nice bass walk. The fiddler may just jump in there, but you could do a bass walk down to get a little start too, you wanted to. So let's just start over the open bass. 1, 2, 3, low bass, C chord, 4, pluck, 3, and the 4 again, and the pluck and the bass walk. 2, 4 bar, 5, F chord, back to low C, and does that again, starting over. And this time, we're going to keep the same chord. It's pretty cool. We're going to go to the 2nd fret, which is C up a whole step to D. And we scoot way on down to 7. We get to use that same shape all over the place. Pretty fun. And that's halfway through the first part. So let's just do that again. Starting over. 1, 2, low C, 4 and 3. Bass walk, 2, 4 fret low, F chord on the 5th, back to C. Starting over here. First fret up to that bar 2, D chord, alternate the bass to 7 fret bar, starting over C. Walk the bass, back to C. Now here's one of the fun parts. The guitar does a nice walk, and we're going to try to throw a walk in there, and we'll see if it works. We have to do a little less notes, I think, because we're starting. The guitar's actually on a something like that, so we don't have that much time. So we're going to start with our C note, and we're going to go. So it's just like falling down from the C, and then we're going to slow down. 5th fret low, and maybe a pluck or a brush, 4, and then we're going to do a D chord and a G. 7. Let's try a new chord. We had to try G7 at the 3rd fret on the 1st string and the 2nd fret low. You might not, if you're not picking the low string, you wouldn't have to do it, but if you're doing a bass, you'd have 3 and 4. So that walk's going to sound like this. And also, if you don't have enough time, if you only got one bass of the chord, you might do a 3. You might just kind of do a brush, or you take your thumb. Here's another technique. Take your thumb over to the 3rd string and still do the pluck. So you're not really having enough time for 2 basses. Just you're plucking 3 strings. You do a thumb glide, you might call it. So here's that little walk. Slower here, D, G, C, a little slower. Here's that walk at the end of the first part. Slower here, you can do a little D, G7, C. So here's the whole first part, just with that basic pattern. Bass walk, low, F, back to C, starting again here, 4 and 3, to the 2nd fret, D chord, and bar 7 for G, starting over, 4 and 3, walk up to 5th fret, C. Now here comes that bass walk, right down the scale, 5, 4, D, G7, C. I love that. And you can add other notes, but you just got to slow down there to make it work. let's try one other pattern. That's great. So just doing a bass and plucking 2 strings together. We didn't even really do a lot of that. Another thing I will add before we start the second part is you can add on some of those when you do the little roll, like that kind of thing. That kind of thing, you know, bass, pluck, to split apart. You could also use, so you could use that 5th string. I'm going 4 and 3 and 4 again, then splitting apart the first 2 strings, but the 5th string, you know, it's kind of a high melodic entry into the. So it's beautiful. That sounds nice. Check it out with a G. Or here's, you'll get it nice there. So you get some nice sounds with that 5th string thrown in there. Let's go ahead and look at the second part. We're going to get into Charlie Poole did all kind of things. This will just get you in the ballpark. You know, there's great people out there that really know Charlie Poole. You know, Kenny Rorrer, of course, and Kirk Suthman, you know, are both great proponents of Charlie Poole's playing. So there's some nice videos out there, I think, of them teaching some of those techniques or talking about the stories of Charlie Poole. So check those out for sure. But anyway, right now, let's go up. We're going to do something a little bit like Frank Jenkins. Kirk's also really good at this kind of slidey Frank Jenkins. This is just emulating it a little bit. Let's go to that. We're going to do a different thing with our right hand now. We're going to do pinch on different strings. Let's just try the 1st and 3rd string. I'm going to bar 5, just the first 3 strings there. Still going to be a C chord in this case, because we're not putting that higher notes in there. So it's just a C chord. And let's do one thing here just for fun, because it's going to come in handy at the end of the second part. The C chord, just thinking of the first 3 strings, that little slant, bar 5, and then we're going to go up to another one. It's going to be 10 on the 1st, 8 on the 2nd, and 9. I call that a zigzag. So that's our 3 C chords. It's going to come in handy for our big finish of the second part. So anyway, we're going to do I'm going to do the bass kind of as a drone, and then pinch 1 and 3 with my thumb. Just try to, if your thumb on the low bass, then I'm letting my thumb going over to the 3rd string and pinching with the 1st string together. And of course you can do them apart, but we're going to do that. And let's try catching that 2nd string after the thumb. So my drone, we're doing this alternate thumb still. We're going to do the 2nd string after the thumb. So it's with the thumb or after the thumb sometimes, right? So we got a low bass and a pinch with the thumb, 1st and 3rd, the low bass and the 2nd string index after the thumb. So let's just try that pattern. That's a really nice pattern. Bass by itself, pinch 1 and 3, low bass and 2nd string after with the index and the thumb. Together, after. Notice the thumb's just doing that tick-tock. Big Ben's just ticking along. So you got that 1 and 3, the 2nd string. So that's the main ingredient there. But what we're going to do is put a little slide in there. It's going to sound like this because the melody goes dee-dee-dee-be-dee-dee-bom. So we're going to put the pinch down and do a half step on the 4th fret, sort of like Bully of the Town, if you're familiar with that. It gives you a little bit of that feel. So bar 5, keep the pattern going, and you're on the 4th fret back. So that's the pattern we're going to use. 4th fret, 2nd string after, and the 1-3 pinch. So really, if you can get your thumb where you don't have to think about it, it's not so bad. Together, the chord changes. After, pinch, 1 and 3. Then we're going to go to an F chord. Same thing. And we're going to change a little note there. I got 5, 6, and 7. We're going to put a little movement on the 1st string. Beautiful. Start to get so that's the whole second part almost. So it's 5, you scoot back a half step. And the F chord, 1st string changes. Bar 5, does that again. Then we're going to go a walk up to 7 and add a little melody note there. And then we're going to get into a little flourish there. So I'm just barring 7, adding a little color note there, the 9th fret. And you can pluck that and a roll. And then just doing the 8th fret, 2nd string, open 1st, open 2nd, and 3rd. And we're going to get back to repeat. That's the second part. I'll do all that once for you. 1, 2, 3, low bass. 4th fret, back to 5. F, 6th fret. Sounds beautiful. 5, 4. Walk the bass up to 7. Color note. 2nd string, open, 2, 3. Starting over, 4th fret. F. And here's the funnest part of the second part. We got a fun ending of the first part. I figure we better have a fun part for the second part. We're going up to that zigzag, which is, what is it, 9, 8, and 10. Just picking the 3rd string and plucking the first 2. You can kind of scoot to it. Bar 5, and the C chord, and the low bass. Then we get to do a D chord, and the G7, with the 3rd string. So here's that ending. You can even walk. Oh, I missed it, I'll try it again. So here's both parts one more time, and I'll the tab will help you out there, and I'm just putting some of this in there, and you can try different things. You'll try the 5th string a little bit more together, or on the beat, or syncopating this after the thumb. So you'll find just doing the basic, just the works all the way through the song too. So I'm giving you lots of try. So here's both parts of Honeysuckle one more time there. 1, 2, 3, first part. Bass wall. C, starting over. 2nd fret for that D, to the 7th fret G. That's halfway through the first part. Walk to F, back to C. Here's that walking part, and slow her down right there. D, G, repeat the first part. And you can do some brushes. Try that 5th string. 2nd fret, D to G7, or either one. Got some options. F. Here's the walk, 2nd string. Slow down, D to G7. 2nd part, bar 5. 4, 5. F, 1st string changes. Does that again. And 7. Open strings. Big finish is coming up here. Zigzag. 5. We'll do it one more time. 2nd part, last time. The crowd's going wild. F. 7. Big finish. Gotta do that big finish again. Oh, Honeysuckle. I think you'll find it's a lot of fun to do some three finger picking on the banjo, and listen to some Charlie Poole, and he did all kind of stuff. There's a lot going on in those recordings, so see if you can pick out some of his tricks up his sleeve there, and enjoy Honeysuckle and finger picking the banjo. I think you'll be glad you did and tried it out. Take care.